In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to get some really good quality images, and we're going to resize them for your digital cameras. I'm going to give you the way that I know how to do it, or the best of my knowledge. The first thing we want to do is my camera exports as a RAW format. That is a must. Okay. The second thing that's a must is these cameras offer an extra CD that comes with it, or a download from their website, especially for that camera, to install the RAW format. So as I can see here, we got the Capture ND by Nikon, and this is the RAW format for this, which is the .NRW, which is the RAW format for this. The reason why you want this is because what we got over here in these settings are actually the settings are like in the camera itself. So if I switch to something here, it's going to update just like I was going to do it right in the camera. Now, other softwares that you can import will have these settings, but they kind of mimic it. These are the true settings for this camera, so we want to keep that. Now, you notice I'm on the RAW format here. If I click a JPEG, you watch it update over here. There's no settings for the JPEG is because there's no information, because this is not a RAW format. That's why it's a JPEG. So we click back over here. Now we have all these settings back. Main factor is I'm going to install this image into another software for editing. Okay. After you do any settings that you do in here and you feel like you're happy with it, I'm going to export it, and I'm going to export it as a .tiff file. Alright, and it's also going to be 8-bit, and it's also going to be the original size. We don't want to do no resizing right now. So remember that. Export is a .tiff, 8-bit, keep it full size. Alright, here's another image I got here, and this is by Kodak, and the software is also, they recommend for this is by, for Kodak, that ArcSoft Studio Darkroom here. And I got this image selected here, and if we see some information, you can see it's by Kodak PixPro, the AZ901. This has got like 90 times zooms. Pretty awesome camera. Make sure that you do the firmware update on some of these cameras, because sometimes it helps out a whole lot. And you notice the file or the image size here is quite large. I see a lot of people uploading these things and they're humongous as a JPEG. But when you view them at full screen, they're kind of just not worth even looking at full screen. So we need to knock this down a little bit. We're not printing this out. We're using this for the web here. So once that's set, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use this one here. Now we're going to export this one here. And we're going to switch this over to the 8-bit. Then we're going to see, we're going to use the original size here. And just go ahead and export this out. Let's take a look at that right here. There's a TIFF right here, and you can see the size right here. Actually, I'm going to move this over here real quick. Sorry about that. I'll just put that right in this folder I'm going to be using here. Remember, TIFF, 8-bit, and keep original size. I'm going to be using in Pixel Photo Editor 10. I guess that's how you pronounce it. And we'll open it up. Remember I said to export as a TIFF. You can see right here once I exported it. Got lucky here because the RAW file for the Kodak's AZ901 is a DNG, and it's going to allow me to import the RAW file, which is the .dng. So it's probably best to select the DNG rather than the TIFF, but I'm going to go ahead and select this because I think it's going to be the better one. If your software does not allow you to import the RAW file, that's why I say switch over to TIFF, which is most common. So we'll click in here and let it open up. Okay, now that it's opened up, there's all kinds of settings. This is a really good one here, auto correction here, and I always have this checked on. and it enhances it really good, like HDR. All kinds of settings that you can go over here. I'm not going to go over these, but my next step is we want to go ahead and export this, and this is where we're going to want to resize this thing at. So basically, go ahead and do your editing here, and then we're going to go ahead and resize this. One thing that we do not want to do in this software here, we do not want to denoise this or sharpen this. Okay, we're going to use one more software which is extremely good. If you decide that you're going to denoise it in the software or sharpen it or into the software, it could backfire on you. So that's why I say don't leave the noise in there, and if you want to sharpen it, we'll do it in this other software I'm using here in just a minute. Alright, we're going to need to determine what size this is going to be for when I export it for the internet browser. Okay, this is not for the printing, for like poster printing. As you can see, the Kodak AstroZoom AZ901 is 20 megapixels, which is going to be a factor. There's a lot of megapixels here. The original size is 5184 times 3888, which is extremely large. But a lot of people upload these images. The browser will resize them really nice, and they'll look really good. But when you go full screen, they look like crap. Okay, so it's too big anyway, is what I'm saying. If I decrease that by 50%, which would be half of that, I would come up with something like this. All right, I believe this would be probably one of the better choices. All right, my screen resolution on my computer, all right, is 1920 by 1080. That's going to be a factor too. If I add that by 50% or twice as much, I would come up with this size. All right, that's 2 times the size of the screen resolution, but don't resize larger than the original image. All right, we were going to decrease it. If you increase larger than this, it's going to fall apart and it's going to look like crap. So we want to go ahead and decrease it. Also, this size here is a tad too big for the 20 megapixels. It'll look pretty good, but it could look better if it was a little bit smaller. The best way to do these is resize these things, save them, open up your browser, and go full screen, and you'll notice the difference. Always the smallest will look the best, and the largest, which is supposed to look good, well, sometimes will backfire you and look like crap. We want it to look good both ways. So I believe this is probably one of the better choices. Notice my computer screen resolution is 1920 by 1080. Notice the lowest number on my screen resolution. The final resize of the width and height should be no less than the lowest number. What that means is if I look at the lowest number here, and anything that I decide that I'm going to decrease in size, we don't want to go any lower than that. So if I select up here, you can see 1944 and 1080, it's not going below that. So it's pretty close, but we don't want to go anything below that. And of course, if we resize this, this is not going below 1080. It's actually a little bit larger. So on any of the methods here, you just don't want to go below 1080, okay, on the lowest number. Increasing the image size will lose quality if the original image. So if anything, if you have an image this size and you increase it larger than that, yeah, it's going to look like crap. So we always want it, because you're going to lose quality on it, trust me, unless you have a software that can fix that. But sometimes it doesn't do a very good job. So what we want to do is we want to decrease. Decrease will always make it look better. And on top of that, these images are quite large anyway, so we want to go ahead and decrease this. And as of course, in our next step, we're going to use one more software, and we're going to export this as TIFF at 8 bits, okay? And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but before I export this, make sure in the software I'm using right now, we do not want to denoise this, and we also do not want to sharpen this. Okay, I'm done editing this, and I'm going to export this. So as if I said before, this experimental, as you can see, I said by 50% is 2952 times 1944, and it's telling me at this right here, my final image at 2952 times 1944 is 50%. Also 8-bit, and it's also going to be a TIFF format. Alright, let's go take a look at this thing. And see if I can come over here. There's the size here, which I exported, and this is the original size. Okay, this last software we're going to use, it's a standalone and it is freeware. And you can download it. It's called Neat Images V8. They have one for images and one for video. And what we're going to do is import the TIFF here. The one to resize. We'll just go ahead and delete this one so there's no mistake here. So we're going to open this up. This does a really good job. So this is the demo version. So what we want to do is we want to open this up, and we're going to locate this one here and open. I'm not going to get in full detail on this one, so bear with me here. We're going to do a quickie here. So basically, when you import the image, it says input, then you give an option to open it. You just follow these in order. So just press device noise profile. You're going to see something like that. You're probably going to see, probably don't know what to do. It's asking you to draw out a box where it's real uniform and kind of dark, and you just drag out to wherever you feel that larger is probably going to be the better. We want it kind of where it's uniformed at, not like crossing with something, because it's not uniform as you see here. Then you can do something like that. Then what you do is press auto profile, and here in just a couple seconds you'll see some outcome of how this is going to percentage of how it's going to look. It's going to give you 59% quality. That could be sufficient. 50 and above should be alright. I'm going to show you another way in case this is a little too hard for you to understand. We're going to press input, and we're just going to open that back up. And they also have one, it's called auto match, and we're going to select here. Then we're going to press auto profile. I think that's how you do it. And the quality jumped up to 74%. I think that's going to be good enough for me. Then it's asking you to go to the next step. And here where you're going to be able to do some adjustments, it's going to show you some before and after on the noise. Is it going through here? As I said, filter, that means this is the filter, this is the noise that it's removing. If I click down and hold it down, it's showing me the original. Pretty much the grass in the background was never very good from the beginning. There's no way that I can get this back. It's pretty much trash. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure this image here gets some good detail. And what I like to do is just enable the sharpening. That's a definitely must on here. And there's also different kinds of settings that if you want to. You got to give this thing a second every time you click something. It changes. You can add certain kind of things right here. See, prevent filling. How about the focus? Out of focus, slightly or stronger. Let's go stronger right here. That means it's kind of blurry, out of focus, and we'll press OK. And then you can tone down your noise and all that stuff through the settings here if you want. Finish. Like I said, the grass is pretty much junk. I could probably get it back a little bit. I'm not worried about it. I'm worried about usually a blurred or kind of a offsetting from the background to the image really brings the image out anyway. It's kind of like a blur. The noise will make it blurry. So once we do that, go to the next step, press output. And of course, you got to wait for this little green progress bar to go all the way through. See, it's still showing the original. When it's done, it says filter. The last thing we want to do is export this. And it's going to export as a JPEG. This is for the web. We're going to keep this, and it does a very good job. Very high quality JPEG. And here's the JPEG, and it's the same size I wanted. And to test this out, we're going to open this up in the browser. And give it a couple seconds. As you can see there, this is not full screen. It looks very good. When you move your cursor around, it's going to give you an option to zoom this up. Some people don't know this, but wherever you put your cursor at and click with a zoom, it's going to zoom into that area. So this is going to be full screen when I click, and you can see it's very good detail. As you can see, it kept it right here. I mean, this is sharp. If you can't see it in the video, set your video settings to very high quality settings to the highest resolution, and you can see it. If I select up here on the chain, you can see very good detail. Wherever I select down here by the middle, by the root, getting very good detail, especially on this metal rail here. But anyway, that's one way you can do it. And, okay, like I said, different cameras export at different file sizes. Okay, I showed you basically off this size here, and you're probably wondering, well, what's going to be the best size for me since you showed it your way. I kind of explained it, so I'll make it a little bit more simple in case your camera changes the resolution size and it's not the same as this. I base it on my screen resolution of 1920 by 1080, and the reason why I do that is because most computers that everybody has now, they are viewing at 1920 by 1080. So I'm using it is because it's commonly used. So I'm going to think everybody's viewing what I'm viewing. Okay. If we double the image size, which would be 3840 times 2160, is doubling the screen resolution. And I want to keep a tad below that, and that's why I choose this one right here. And actually it worked out pretty good at 50% of this. So 2952, 1944 stays a tad below that, which is good. Also, if we look at some of the images I'll have right here, let's see here. Some of these images have different width and height. As you can see, this one here says 2952 by 2072. Alright, not what I chose here. Okay, and the reason why is because that image has been cropped and resized the width and height. I also kept very close in the image size as half, a little below half. So that should work out pretty well. So if we click this and view this image here, so basically this is what it looks at with the browser resizes, and if we click anywhere here, it's going to go full screen here. So it looks good here at full screen, or somewhat pretty good. I think it looks good, and we'll click it back. Now I'll have a link in the video, and you can download this image and take a look for yourself. If I made it a tad smaller, probably be a lot better, but I kind of like that. It looks good enough, because some of them I see that are full blown, what they'll end up looking like is crap. Is there's a difference between full screen then zooming with a scroll wheel. That's called like digital zoom. That means control, hold the control key down and use your mouse wheel to zoom in. It will get very distorted. Okay, don't get that confused. Zooming and this is basically a digital zoom. Okay, it will pixelate it. For the true one, you just want to click to enlarge and click to get back. Okay. Another way that I base this on the size is the megapixels. My camera had 20 megapixels here. That's why I chose to go a tad below the halfway mark of my screen resolution at twice the size. It seemed to work out pretty good. Now if I had less megapixels, more than likely I'm going to have to decrease the size even more. If I have more megapixels, maybe I can reach that halfway mark and it will still look good at full screen. And if we select down here and click on a leaf, you can see it's got some pretty good detail. Alright, it's actually extremely good detail to it. So basically, once you click once and click again, it gets back to the normal. What I've seen is people upload these big old huge images. They look great when you see them. As soon as you hit that zoom button there, there you go. It just ain't worth looking at. I don't know. You're just wasting a bunch of file size and uploading time, because nobody wants to really see anything that looks like crap. I mean, if it looks good like here, why not just leave it here? The reason why I chose to have it bigger is because I wanted somebody to see this and view a little bit more detail without it being distorted, and that way you get a little bit better shot of a close-up and seeing it good rather than being all blurry. Here, what's good about this method is I'm using a $500 camera, and I'm always trying to find out which is going to be a good camera from good quality images. Some people just don't have the knowledge of editing their images. They just want to take them out of the camera and upload them. That they don't know how to sharpen them, resize them, remove the noise. Noise is a big factor in these large images. And basically what I did was I compared this image that I did from a $500 camera, and I'm not going to mention the next name, but it's a well-known camera, and it costs $1,500, and it's extremely a high quality camera. It's a very expensive camera. It's $1,500. I mean, compared to for a rich camera, it's kind of expensive. And I can actually see that on my $500 camera, I can get the image quality equal or even better. Not to say that since I had to alter this in a software, that this is better. On their settings on their camera, maybe they had it set to a resolution size to export the image, and it automatically comes out like that, where they don't have to edit. Maybe that's what makes that camera better. But as far as image size and quality, and versus me paying $500 or $1,500, I think I'll stick with the $500 and do all the editing myself and come up with an image quality just as good as the $1,500 camera versus my $500 camera. This camera here is an AZ901 90 zoom by Kodak. Coming right out of the package, yeah, it can be a little fuzzy. Some of the images, this one here is not a macro. This one here is just a regular shot. It is a close-up shot though, and we got to keep that into a factor. And another thing we want to look at is the you want to make sure that you got the firmware, because I had the old firmware and it wasn't, everything that came out of the camera looked like not so good. So I updated the firmware, and I am having to edit everything that comes out of the camera. That's my downfall, but then again, I love editing images, because if I couldn't, I wouldn't be happy. But anyway, you could either spend $500 on a camera and get just as good as images as you can on a $1,500 camera. So you make the decision. And anyway, any comments below would be grateful, but I'm just not into debating. So if you have any points that you want to say that you do want to debate about, just kind of keep it kind of clean and not make it where it turns into an argument. But you're more than welcome to maybe put in your point of view of maybe making it even a tiny bit better. But anyway, thank you.